walking around this platform like it can't be moved, and it can. So what I want to do is we'll have to take up some of that.
Okay.
Then I want to move this just out of the way for right now.
Good.
And then I want to move this over in front to about like right here. Okay? Because it's too close to the Miss Figgy, and it's still really not hiding that.
Yes.
So that's my bad. I should have intuited that. So that's the main thing I want to do is move that out right in here, and then we'll reposition this, and then I've got a couple. Hey, how are you? A couple of small boxwood that I want to move back in here to just kind of like complete the set.
Yes.
So let me go up front and identify a couple of them.
Okay.
I'll show you where they are. And then that's mostly what I want to do today, are those. Okay, so these are the kinds of things I know not to do myself. Last week, I transplanted just a large mound of salvia in the front yard. And because we've had so much rain, it was so heavy that it was stupid of me to even try to move it myself. And so today I'm being smart. These are going to have really heavy root balls, and these pots are very heavy. So I've got Victor here. Say hey, Victor.
Hi.
Yeah, Victor the man. And he is here to just help me kind of do an end around of this kind of stuff. And then once we're done, we'll put everything back in place. Now, actually, most of the time, I would wait for the soil to dry out a little bit more. But I think that in the areas where we're going to transplant things, I don't think it's going to be prohibitively wet and soggy, so much so that it would ruin the tilth of the soil, because these are areas that are a little bit more protected from the onslaught of the deluge of rain that we've had. And I want to get them in while that natural rainfall still exists in the soil and while the temperatures are still cool enough for them to acclimate. So that's kind of my strategy right now. So, as we discussed earlier, and I always ask Victor if he wants some Cool Jobs gloves or some gloves, and you always say no, Victor. Do you still not want any gloves?
No, I need feeling what I'm doing.
He is a true gardener because he needs to feel what he's doing.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it really is. So we're going to move this over in here, and I don't care if it hugs this. Victor, this is one of them that we took from the other house.
Yes.
So I don't care if it kind of hugs this, that they can kind of all grow together, but this will also hide this area and hide my gas meter more effectively, but also it will give more room to the little Miss Figgy fig. Now, why I wanted to point this out to you guys is because I'm stupid. and as I said earlier, here's where I used to have that rain barrel. Yeah. And so we built this platform here for the rain barrel. And I've had this psychological impediment that this couldn't be changed.
Yes.
But it can be changed because it's just soft set. We didn't concrete it in or anything. So it's, don't let your bricks boss you either. If it can be moved, then it's not that difficult. Oh, Stuart's handing me my mic.
It'll be good.
We haven't known what we've been able to do today because it's been raining on and off. And so anyhow, we're a little bit discombobulated.
It's all good.
Yeah, it's all good. So anyhow, this is what we're going to work on right here. And I will just let these gentlemen work their magic. And we might move this off and out too to kind of get it out of the way, to just see what the feng shui is once we get everything back in place. Okay, so Victor gets complete, absolute credit for this. I always think in terms more of design than in practicality, and I'm extremely impatient. But Victor gets complete credit for my not whacking these little Miss Figgies off at the bottom. So look at how much taller they are now.
I remember when you were thinking about they were done.
That they were done, and Victor said, No, be patient. Be patient, Linda. And it was hard for me, but he was right. And let's look at this one over here too.
Holy smokes.
Yeah. And this is one of the reasons that I want to move this and relocate this. But what do you think about, great expert, Victor, what do you think about this section here?
Okay, I think this will be grow leaf.
Okay.
After here.
You think it's probably
yes,
gone?
yes.
Okay.
You're right.
So my instinct would have been to cut it off there. And then because you told me to be patient and I saw a little bit of green coming out here, I'll go ahead and I'll cut it off there at an angle. This will then have more room. Things were looking too crowded over here to me. And all it takes is, how many years of experience have you had, Victor? Many.
23.
23 years of experience. So one thing that I appreciate about Victor and about you guys out there is I tend to look at things from a design lens, not always from a good horticultural lens. And my worst flaw as a gardener is I am impatient and I want to get the look right away. And sometimes I do stupid things. Sometimes I just do stupid things. But because Victor told me to be patient, he also told me to be patient on these, because when they first went in the ground, I didn't keep them watered enough. It was before all the rains began. And I planted them right before that really, really cold spell that we had. And they turned crispy, and I thought they were goners. And I think, Victor, you told me to be patient on these too. And sure enough, look, they're putting out new growth, and we're going to give them a feed with some of that boxwood turbo grow. It'll be fine for evergreens, and hopefully that will help these recover a little bit faster and grow that much more quickly. But it just proves that you can learn things all of the time, and especially from experienced gardeners like Victor, because not only is he experienced because it's been 23 years, but because he works on plants I don't work on, that I don't have in my garden, but he helps lots of people. Yes. And so he has a breadth of knowledge that I don't have. Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's really important.
But together we're still learning.
Together we can create pretty gardens. Yes. Yeah. So, okay, very good. I'm going to go on a boxwood hunt.
Thank you, Victor.
Thanks.
It's all about comfort today, because I started out and it was fine, and then I got really cold, and so I put this sweater on, and now the sun is coming out and I'm probably going to have to take it off. So it's about roomy comfort today. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm hunting for boxwoods that I can. There's a couple of places that I've been waiting for some of these boxwoods to grow up so I could transplant them in the back. And as you can see, I have already been pruning them and nurturing them and grooming them to turn into boxwood balls. So this one is going to go to the back, and as you can tell, it's probably a different variety. This is probably a skylight, and these are probably heritage. And so this one we're going to move to the back, and I won't even have to replace it with another one, because these will grow in just fine and I will keep it pruned to a low hedge here. So that is the number one I want to move. And this one has some pretty good potential here. So I think this one I might move also, and then there'll be more room for Miss Bonnie Spirea. Now, could I have done better spacing initially? And there's a better boxwood video about that, how far is too far or proper spacing. But because, again, I am impatient, I wanted this to start growing in almost immediately, and I wasn't experienced with this variety to know just how quickly it would grow. I also knew that I would be able to transplant some later, because that's one of the benefits of having a small garden, is you can do those kinds of things. You can move plants around like furniture in your home. And indeed, that's what I've done. As one thing begins to thug out or bully out another one, I can move it to a place that has a void, or where it would enhance the beauty of the other things. So that's what I'm doing right now, is I'm doing some judicious editing in the front yard to place them in areas that still haven't quite matured to the extent that I want them to. But I was also grooming another one over here. This is almost a perfect ball. And so this one may be the one that I end up relocating, or I might end up relocating all three of them. This will give me another little planting pocket in here within this boxwood village where I can plant some pentas. So one thing I love about this better boxwood is just how quickly it can be transformed into a ball. And this is that Rembrandt variety that I love so much, and I think it is my favorite. And at any rate, this one I think will move to the back, because as I was going through some Pinterest inspiration boards and some of my tear sheets, I kept coming across those pictures, and I noticed that to get that look, there were a couple of places that I needed to fill in the back. Now, you might be thinking it's already overplanted, and I respect that. You do you, I'll do me, and we will just all create beautiful spaces that we hope resonate with ourselves and with our families. So I will find Victor, and we'll move some of these to the back. Okay, look at these. Are these not gorgeous? These are those ever white agapanthus. And when I say white, I mean these are a really, blistering white. They are as pure white as you can get, and resemble the white in these geraniums. So as a grouping, I'm going to create a pure white grouping here. And these are two of the components I'm going to use right now. I'm not sure what will be in the third in terms of mama bear, baby bear, papa bear. I'm not exactly sure what will be in the third, but you guys can just watch and see how that comes together. Okay, here's a little tease for some things coming up this weekend. These redbud trees, boy, have they put on growth, to the point where some of these branches are going to get in the way of my path on Lemon Lane. Now, I want them to arch up and over, but some of these are growing too low. And so we're gonna do a whole video where we talk about raising the canopies on these redbuds, because they are just, well, everything is just growing in leaps and bounds. I can hardly keep up. Okay, now a lot of you have been asking me about how I fertilize, and this is one of the ways. This is a product relatively new to me. I use a lot of Espoma Bloom Booster and Espoma products, but when I went to the store, they didn't have any of that, so I got this Ultra Bloom plant food, and I've been really pleased with how it's performed. It is a granular organic that has more a phosphorus ratio. Let me see here what it's got on here. You can see right here, NPK, and it's 0, 10, 10. So it's lower in nitrogen, but it's higher in both phosphorus and potassium to really get these to bloom. And so I'm going to be feeding my blooming things, including my window box, because all of this rain is leaching out all of the nutrients and any kind of fertilizer that might have been in there. I'm going to give them all a dose of this in addition to my urns that I have planted a little bit. In fact, this might be my question of the day. I still have to get some baby bears for my mama bear and papa bear trio over here, and I am noticing that these are just that same very pure bright shade of white. So here's my question of the day. Do I want to go with those white sun patiens? Do I want to go with these million bells, the Calabricoa, or do I want to go with this Angelonia? They're all in that pure, pure white that I think is absolutely beautiful. So A, B, or C, let me know what you think. Okay, now I think one of the reasons that this Encore topiary has responded just so beautifully when I thought it wasn't, well, it really wasn't doing such a much. And I think it's probably because of some of this bloom food that I gave it. And of course, all of that magnificent rain that we've had. And I tried to apply it at just the right time. And that's the secret. There are opportunities right before and right after a rain. This is one of them, feeding things right before a good soaking rain. And the other is maybe transplanting some things when the ground is still malleable, flexible, and a little bit more workable without ruining the tilth of the soil, which can happen if you work on it when it's too wet. Okay, as we head to the back, I want to point out a couple of things. Look at how much this oak leaf hydrangea, this is a Terra, has grown here. I thought it was a goner because of that pier work that we had done, but no, it is growing and it is thriving, and it must have a pretty good, formidable root system for it to come out after all of that work. The other thing that's also coming out that I was kind of despairing of were some of these hellebores that I planted. These, you may recall, I had in pots from Trader Joe's. We put them in the ground, but they really weren't doing a whole lot. But look there. Even though it's not their time of year, they're starting to put out new growth. So that makes me very, very happy. And then my friend, Carolina Elizabeth, she gave me some starts of some dahlias. So I planted those in here. And this is going to be, this is kind of a, so many of the areas in the front, they're fun for me to play in, but they're just not play areas. This is a play area where I could try things I haven't tried before. I sprinkled some carnation seeds in here. I'm not wanting it to be highly labor intensive. Those carnation seeds, they may germinate, they may not. They may be too crowded in here, they may not be, depending on how viable the seeds were. But if I can get them to germinate enough so that as they grow big, I can leave them here or I can transplant them to another location. This is what's fun for me. This is what brings me out in the morning, to just be on my hands and knees looking at something that to anyone other than a real gardener would think is just me staring at the dirt. Okay, another tease. So in addition to limbing up the redbuds a little bit later, we're also going to be doing another plant makeover. Some of you asked me to show you how I would topiary this holly. This is an Oakland holly. It's part of the Southern Living Plant Collection. And I think from the different kinds of hollies I've seen, this variety probably has the best potential to be transformed into a large topiary. So this is another plant makeover that we're going to do, and it is starting to transform this into a double ball topiary. Okay, so Victor just asked me if he thought this was good positioning, and I think it is. Another reason I wanted to go ahead and move it is because since these were so recently planted, I knew they would move rather easily, and the transplant shock wouldn't be quite as great because they hadn't already really settled into the soil. Yes. So you can see how he's relocated these bricks, and then he cleaned up a lot of the browning foliage. It wasn't diseased, so I think we're okay in that respect, but just to make it look more presentable, he cleaned that up. And then he's going to add a little bit of compost in here and some of that plant food to mix in with some of the soil that we're going to backfill. And while, yes, this is clayish, it's not terribly bad right now. It's not as bad as it could be. It's not as gummy as it could be. So I think it'll be fine. And I think once this starts getting some light, I think it will be good. The other thing that we wanted to be mindful of is that we wanted to have enough room and enough clearance for this to grow both ways. And I can't remember exactly how tall and wide this gets. It's not one of the mammoth ones, but nevertheless, it will eventually grow taller and it will grow wider. And my utility people, they still need to have access to this. And so this will give them enough clearance for a while. The other thing is, this isn't real prickly. I mean, so even eventually when they have to get beyond it, it's not real prickly, so it won't be that difficult. We could have planted something a lot worse in front of it. And we have seen things a lot worse planted in front of it. So this is good. We'll get this all tidied up. And we'll get these things back in place, and I think it'll look good. What do you think, Stuart? Yes. Or Victor? Who are you? Who are you? You are Victor. You are Stuart. Yes. So I think it'll look great. Okay. So let's get to it. Okay. So as I've mentioned many times, at my former home, and if you are new to my channel, we'll see if we can find an image of it. We've got one somewhere. But when you came into my back gate, the vista that you saw as soon as you walked in across the yard was absolutely one of my favorite things about the gardens at my former home. And I really want to replicate that aha kind of moment when you walk in the gate here. And I just wasn't getting that vibe in this corner because things were just too crowded. Now, am I going to get it after we relocate some of these things? Not quite, because some of these things have to mature to the point where it really is as glorious as it was at that other house. But nevertheless, I am starting to make some progress. So we'll also trim some of these things up, we'll tidy it up, and that will help, because I want to once again look at it now, give you a before and after, look at it now, and then we'll show you what it looks like after it's kind of been transformed. I'm really into before and afters right now. Well, the garden may love all of this rain, but hair does not. And me and my girlfriends on the street, we were talking about we haven't had a good hair day, and we didn't know how long. But the other thing that is really loving all of this rain, besides just our gardens, are all of the trees that have been recently planted in my neighborhood, which just thrills me no end, because trees are an investment, as was this gorgeous Japanese maple. But as you can see, even after that pruning, or maybe because of it, look at all of the new growth it's putting out. It's doing exactly what I wanted it to. Some of you felt maybe I was too extreme in shearing it, but I partly sheared it knowing that we had lots of rainy weather ahead. So it is starting to assume the effect that I want it to assume, and the kind of cascading quality. There's new growth coming out at the bottom. I'll leave some of it, but eventually it will come off. And boy, this is beautiful. And look at that gorgeous new growth. That's put on a good 3 to 4 inches already in the season. Okay, let's garden in some forgotten places, shall we? You guys have asked me to give you an update on some of the stuff in the alley, so we'll go over that way. This is just a whole mess right here. We're getting ready to take all of these empty containers. Actually, Hubs is going to do that today. All of these empty pots and things up to bricks where they reuse and recycle them. And we're going to do that. But now, and also I need to do something with all of this cardboard. I need to put it in the recycling bin. But right now, let's go out to the alley. Okay, here's that opportunity when the ground is still really moist and we might get just a little bit more rain today. This is the alley that I told you about. And when I say I want this to be absolutely no intervention at whatsoever other than me sprinkling seeds, that's what I mean. Now, I did throw some of my tulip bulbs out over here with the intent of thinking I would probably try to transplant them in here, but it's been so wet. And then when I looked at the quality of the bulbs after they were pulled out, I decided that's a lot of work for some bulbs that are probably spent. So I'm just gonna let them kind of rot there in place, compost in place, and that's okay. Normally I wouldn't like unsightly things like that, but this is the alley in an unsightly area, and I'm just doing what I can with the most minimal of effort to make it a little bit more beautiful and maybe give me some cut flowers.
A garden risk worth
A
taking.
garden risk worth taking. So I have all sorts of this white coxcomb right here. That was a gift from my friend Gail Wynn, and it's purdy and it goes to seed and it's very prolific, but it wasn't quite as dramatic as I wanted for the front yard. So before this seed lose all of its viability, I am just going to sprinkle what remains in here. What comes up, comes up. What doesn't, that's all to the good. Now, the thing about this exposure right here, I was talking with my neighbor across the alley, and that is that this faces north, so it doesn't get a lot of sun. The larkspur has all germinated. Lots of these poppies have germinated, though they're not putting on a lot of growth because we haven't really had much sun. But they need to put on growth pretty soon, or it'll start getting too hot for them to do anything. But nevertheless, the fact that they have germinated, even if they put on the smallest of blooms, it might help them begin to go to seed and naturalize in here. There's another one right there. Okay, so now to this mix, we'll see who the winners are and who the losers are. I am adding that white coxcomb. Okay, so when I was talking to my neighbor the other day, we were talking about how we had a little bit of alley envy because some of the alleys in this neighborhood are just really lovely. They've got cobblestone bricks and everything. And ours, for whatever reasons, it's not that appealing. So we're just going to try to spruce it up a little bit, again, with not a ton of effort. We're really trying to make this relatively effort-free. So she's got an old post here that she was talking about. Should I remove it or not? And I said, oh, let's maybe just try to grow something on it or buy it. So I just went into my seed stash, seeds that are just sitting there, not doing anything. And I came across some Concert Bell hybrid sunflowers. Again, I didn't even want to go to the trouble of buying new seeds. And I got some Lemon Queen sunflowers. Now, we all know sunflowers are tough. They don't require a ton of attention, a ton of water. And so I'm going to see what I can do here. I'm also going to sprinkle some of this blue sage Salvia florencia. Now, this is what John Turman was saying had just gone crazy in his garden, had come up everywhere, almost a little bit more prolifically than he wanted it to. So this is also some of the seed. And by the way, this seed is from So Right Seeds. So I am going to, and again, you guys may say, Linda, you should do more soil preparation. You should do this. You should do that. That is not the point. I have enough gardening in the front. And would it help if I roughed up this soil? Yes, it would. Am I going to? No, I am not. Because this is going to be kind of a Darwinian experiment. What germinates and comes up and survives? Well, then we'll know it's a strong stock. Now I've got some more left, so I'm going to do that over here. A friend of mine brought me some plants the other day, kind of a succulent kind of thing, and I didn't really have a place at the moment to put it, so I just kind of stuck it in the ground. We'll see if it does anything. And these are the kinds of things that give me such a jolt of delight when I come out, and despite everything, despite the difficulty, despite whatever life throws at it, if these choose to live, then well done them. Something else I'm going to start doing is all of my pansies and violas that it's getting too hot for them, I am just going to put them out here because the plants themselves will succumb to the heat. But as they age, oh boy, are these going to go to seed and put out lots of seeds. So I'm hoping that some of those might begin to naturalize around in here. Okay, one last thing. And I'm even trying to do this without a lot of tools.
You mean no tools?
With no tools. I'm sorry, gardening with no tools. Gardening in the forgotten places with nothing. Okay, so right here, I've got a stick here.
Now you have a tool.
Now I have a tool. I'm like the apes that finally learned how to use tools.
That happened.
Okay, so look at some of this soil, because this is just years of stuff breaking down unimpeded here. And here I said I wasn't going to work the soil, but I mean, look at that.
Looks like
That's
good stuff.
gorgeous
Yeah.
stuff. That is really gorgeous stuff.
Free dirt.
Free dirt, free garden. And I'm just going to sprinkle some of these seeds in here. And these will get really tall. Took off my garden gloves. Never have garden gloves when you need them. Let's come back in here and sprinkle some over in here. Now this area, it faces south. So this gets a lot more sun. Ooh, look at how sandy this is. Something they like this. We'll see. We will see.
The worms.
The worms. Yeah. So we'll see if this likes it or it doesn't like it. I can always thin these and transplant them if they germinate and they look too crowded. But again, birds plant sunflower seeds all the time. And do they consider, oh, am I overplanting this? Am I planting this exactly in the perfect spot?
Who knows? Maybe.
Well, this is true. This is true. Make no assumptions.
No, they probably don't.
Make no assumptions. Okay, so I'm going to put some more.
Well, how many
in here.
volunteers have you had over the years, right?
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah. And trust me, because I have pretty good seedling recognition skills,
Pretty
if
good
these
is an
come
understatement.
up and if these come up and germinate, oh my gosh, I will recognize them immediately and be so happy. Even if only a half a dozen of all of these seeds germinate, I will be so happy. Why? Because a couple $2 to $3 pack of seeds is a gardening risk worth taking, and some of these seeds were gifted to me. So there you go. That's my rationale. Okay, here's my second question of the day. Do you guys think I am absolutely nuts? Nuts or opportunistic? You tell me. You know what I might... Would that look better off the stand?
Oh,
Off, do you think?
yes.
I think it might look better off the stand. That way you can see what's behind it.
Vamos a poner aquí para quitarle el fierro.
Okay, I think I like that better. Look, okay, now this here. Okay, eventually that will grow there. Then do I...
I can hear the Jeopardy music.
Jeopardy music?
Do, 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 do,
Oh, yeah. Oh, you're actually filming. I didn't know we were filming. Yeah. Okay. Okay, well, Stuart, speaking of, let's just cut here while I think for a minute. Okay, speaking of gardening in the forgotten places, this is kind of another forgotten place, though not completely. One thing I'm going to be doing in the next couple of days is making sure that I empty out all of anything that's got standing water in it, including my bird bath, which you guys will be happy to know will get a good cleaning this weekend. That's Hub's job. So he's back in town, so he'll be doing that. But the other thing is when you have a small garden, you have to garden in places wherever you can find it. And as you can see right here, this is really not the optimal kind of place you would want to plant. But I've got a couple of buckets that have holes in them. I've got some plant stands and I've got some bean seeds. And why not just fill this up with some potting soil? But boy, look at all these roly-polies. I'm going to get those roly-polies out of there. If Clara were here, she would, if Clara were here, she would be getting all those roly-polies. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to plant some bush beans, and I'm going to plant French slenderette bush beans in here. I will plant them 6 to 12 days to germination. Planting depth 1 inch, plant spacing 8 to 12 inches. So what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to put 4 in here in hopes that 3 of them kind of turn into plants, knowing that I am intentionally restricting their growth by putting them in here. So if they didn't get planted, then I would guarantee that I don't have any beans. But by putting them in here, there's a chance. And again, I will just delight in coming out here and checking on them and seeing them germinate. Boy, lots of roly-polies.
Maybe they'll be magic
And I know
beans.
roly-polies, for the most part, they devour rotting foliage, but I have found out that they will go after tender seedlings and plant growth if they have to. Okay, so these were bush bean French slenderette by So Right Seeds, and these are bush bean Royal Burgundy. And these plant spacing is just 4 to 6 inches. Light requirements, full sun. So this is pretty much in full sun until afternoon when it gets afternoon shade, but it's been my experience that everything in Oklahoma in the garden and the gardener themselves really likes afternoon shade. Now the other thing about this is I anticipate that some of these will germinate, and I will prick them out with a fork, and I will give them to Miss Clara to plant in her garden after they've germinated. So I'll give her one that's germinated, and I will give her some of the extra seeds so she can play with these in her own little garden. So there you go. Another segment of gardening in the forgotten places, in buckets that have a hole drilled in the bottom of them for drainage up against the fence, in what you guys called the Begonia Boulevard, but now there's not begonias, so we need to come up with a new name. There's Agapanthus now.
Aggie Lane.
Aggie Avenue. Agapanthus Avenue. Okay, you guys tell me. I need to check in with Victor. Well, speaking of patience, you guys are going to have to be a little bit patient till you see the back in its completion, because I've got to hop on a Zoom call here pretty soon, and Victor is he is relocating some of these boxwoods from the front to the back, and so we'll just have to delay showing you the final thing. But hopefully you have enjoyed everything that we did today as we planted, potted, and puttered in the backyard, and we've got more of that to do. But I don't know, it was a lot of fun, and now it looks like the sun is starting to come out. So a little bit of sun and a lot of rain equals a beautiful garden.